Well, hello. This is Karin Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to the Wrestling Rants Project. Whatever the promotion, we're here to learn and discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes of wrestling discussion with your host, Shugo Hanasaki.
Welcome back to the prediction side of LMP Wrestling. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone had a fantastic New Year's Eve as we start off the year with a fresh wrestling podcast to welcome in the new year. Today we'll be focusing on NJPW as Wrestle Kingdom 15 approaches early next week. But before we get into that, we're going to spend the first part of the podcast chatting with the late John Huber, or as the wrestling universe knows him as Luke Harper in WWE, and most recently Brodie Lee in AEW. Discussing predictions and the heartfelt career of John Huber, I'm happy to welcome back a previous guest as well. He's been on many times, and we love talking New Japan. So without further ado, please help me welcome back Ben from All Things Combat. How's it going today?
It's going pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right today. How was your New Year's?
It was pretty good. Didn't do too much. Just sat around, did Pokemon stuff, and that was really it.
Nice, man. I'm always popping on Pokemon Go once in a while.
Yeah, same.
We had a quiet night here too. Watched some TV shows, had some snacks, but not too much else.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a whole nother day. It's like, oh, calendar flips to 21. Cool.
Yeah, but
back to everyday life now. Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even celebrate Christmas much. So like on Christmas Eve, everybody's like doing this and that, and we're just like, yep, just another day.
Yeah, I feel it.
So, I mean, before we get into the excitement of the predictions for New Japan, I really wanted to talk about John Huber, and I know you wanted to talk about him too. And AEW put on an amazing, phenomenal tribute show to him on Wednesday. I mean, I broke near the episode. I'm not even gonna lie. I cried after that tribute video at the end. I mean, I tried to hold it together throughout the show, and I teared up a few times to hear, but we definitely have to talk about it. How did it make you feel, and how did John Huber affect you in the wrestling business?
The show itself was probably the best send-off I've ever seen for pro wrestling. I mean, you have a company that took a chance on a guy who was already in his 40s. You would assume towards the end of his career, considering how long wrestling careers are, and they let him shine for however long he was there. I didn't get a chance to watch the show due to work, but from what I saw, like the highlights of it, really touching tribute. Lance Archer coming out as Luke Harper. Yeah. You had I don't know his name off the top of my head. Eric Rowan. I don't remember his name that he's going by nowadays. Coming out, delivering that clothesline and having the sign with him, giving Brodie Jr. the TNT championship was a great touch. And when I go back and look at the entire career of Brodie Lee, he's a big man who might have been the best big man that I've ever seen wrestle. I didn't get to live for the days of like Andre the Giant in that era, Bruiser Brodie. I didn't get to see those guys, but Luke Harper, Brodie Lee, whatever you want to call him, being 6'7", 6'8", able to move around like he was and just have every single tool in the trade. It's something you don't see in a lot of big guys nowadays too.
You're right. I mean, he's one of the best. He was one of the best. I mean, and for like you mentioned, his size, the man could move around like he was 5'6".
It's insane. I go back, and everyone talks about like when you became a fan of a certain wrestler. And there's always two matches for Luke Harper that stand out. The one, I don't remember if it was before WrestleMania 30 or after WrestleMania 30 when it was Harper against Cena on Monday Night Raw.
Oh, yeah.
And fans were it was near the end of the anti-Cena phase, I guess, more towards the end of his career. But people still didn't like him, but they started chanting, "Let's go Harper." And I sit there watching as like a little 16-year-old fan or however old I was, just like, they're cheering for the bad guy. This is amazing. And you get to see him go against John Cena in a main event quality match on like maybe the middle point of the show. That was something special. And that's where I knew there was something there for Harper. And then his match against Ziggler for the Intercontinental title on Raw, where he won it, that is just like, okay, this guy's arrived. And it hurt that they never did anything with it. But at that point, everyone knew, like, this guy is legit.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping when he was in the Wyatt family for him to go off on a solo career, capture that world title at some point. Because, frankly, you could see that he deserved it more than anything with the way he could go in the ring. I mean, even ups and downs recently, the retro ups and downs with Simon Miller there. He did what was it, the 2014 with the Wyatt family versus the Shield at Elimination Chamber, and that feud went on for months, and that was a great feud in itself. And then we move on to the Bludgeon Brothers with just him and Eric Rowan, and they captured the tag team titles. I mean, unfortunately, an injury kind of halted that momentum, but I think it was Eric Rowan that got injured. But either way, like, the Bludgeon Brothers were kind of cool. I liked them. I really did.
They were, and it's another story of WWE having untapped potential in somebody and never really seeing what everybody else saw in Luke Harper. And you look at his whole career, he's always been respected by everybody. And you look at all these stories, all these memories people are coming out with since his passing. It's something you look at, like, if you learn anything from the life of Brodie Lee, it's just be kind. And that always seemed to be his sentiment. No matter where he went, you never heard a bad word about him. Whether it was the independent scene, whether it was WWE, AEW, he was just a kind individual. And you don't see that a lot in pro wrestling because it's a dog eat dog world out there. And you see someone come along like Luke Harper who has everybody's best interest in mind, not just himself. That's really eye-opening.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, the fact that, you can play such a badass or like even a crazy ass heel on TV, but then you can be the kindest soul, behind the camera is absolutely amazing. Like, people who do that, there's many wrestlers out there. I mean, Samoa Joe just comes to one, right? He's a massive advocate for mental health. But, just all these people out there who just have their heart on their sleeve, but then they can be this badass persona in front of a crowd. It's incredible that someone can tap into that energy, but then also be so kind. And I mean, even with the AEW tribute show and Tony Khan coming out and his son, and Brodie Lee's son, being 8 years old and holding it together the best he could throughout the show. I mean, putting the kendo stick on MJF's head was adorable. I absolutely loved it. But the fact that he held it together for those 2 hours, and at the end, there was exclusive that was on YouTube, and the fact that they gave him the TNT title even at the end of the show is incredible. And during that exclusive, him and Tony Khan hugged, and the kid broke. And I mean, I think the mother said that, I'm so proud of you, and damn well as she should be. I mean, Brodie would be so proud. I mean, John Huber would be so proud of his son and AEW and Tony Khan and the whole entire show, because yeah, as you said, I think it was the best tribute show I've ever seen. I mean, it was just, they did it so elegantly. Like, yes, they had some, ties in with heels to do little small heel work, but everybody was on the same page, and you could feel the energy at home. And when a show comes across like that, it's perfect.
Yeah, and like, I know people were complaining about how he didn't get the best treatment for a farewell on Raw, but I looked at it at a different perspective. At least Luke Harper was never a Raw guy. He was on Raw because Bray Wyatt was there.
Yeah.
Luke Harper through and through was SmackDown. So if there's going to be any sort of tribute from WWE, and I did see, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp put on Twitter that both AEW and WWE were getting footage for like video packages and whatnot. If we're going to see another tribute for him, it's going to be tonight on SmackDown, which I would be very excited to see what WWE does as well. It's not going to be a whole show, and that's another point that some people don't realize. He wasn't a WWE superstar when he passed. He was an AEW superstar. So for AEW to put on the tribute show and have a bigger tribute than WWE has in a way just kind of made a little more sense to me, at least.
I absolutely loved the love and between both companies. I mean, of course, we always have fans going, "Oh yeah, WWE, oh yeah, AEW, AEW versus WWE, whoa." But that one night, it's almost like the wrestling community came together, and I don't even mean to be cliche about that. What I'm trying to say is the fact that, on AEW's tribute show, we had pictures of Becky, we had pictures of Seth Rollins, we had pictures of other AEW stars or other WWE stars, like in photos, and of course they sent them all in. But then of course we have AEW's Twitter retweeting, Daniel Bryan and just all of these other wrestling stars. It was incredible, and I love I love when that happens because yes, it's a competition at the end of the day, it's business, but at the end, but really, business is one thing, and love and for one human being is another. And if we could just show more of that, and as people are saying, just be kind to one another and understand that life's too short. I mean, he was 41 years old. 41. That was only like you could say that's half his life.
Right.
And he had so much more to give to the world, so much more to give to the fans. I mean, he gave everything he could out in the ring. And again, his even his short run in AEW was just incredible. I loved his feuds. I loved him on BTE. He cracked me up every single time. Him and John Silver. And I mean, yeah, when you mentioned Eric Rowan coming out and having that sign and Eric Rowan broke in the ring too, I was like, oh my Lord. Like you could see how painful this was on everybody there. But they just wanted to put on a fantastic tribute show to them. And I can't give them but nothing but respect for this. I mean, Tony Khan, just a class act for doing everything that he did, rewriting the whole show, pushing the New Year's Bash back a week. I think that was the perfect thing to do. It was incredible.
It was. I do give Tony Khan props for that. I remember seeing like he put together the show at 2 a.m., ripped up an entire script and started back over from scratch. And like that's the dedication he had to make this show absolutely perfect. And from top to bottom, it might have been the best free wrestling show all year. And there's no really close second.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I really, really can't. I mean, it was a tough night. I mean, I'm not going to get choked up here on the podcast, but I mean, geez, I mean, it was incredible. It was just, I can't say enough words about it.
Yeah, it was maybe the night that we needed because it came out of nowhere. Was it Sunday night when the news broke, or was it a Saturday?
Honestly, man, all the days blending together this year, but I can't remember whether it be Saturday or Sunday though.
It was during the weekend. I know that much. So for them to go from the weekend, just 3 days of prepping this type of show, making sure you have everybody on the same page, ready, and emotionally able to keep everything together until the end of their matches. Because I mean, I even saw the photo of Anna Jay and Tay Conti after their match. They were both tearing up. And like just have everybody be on the same page for one night to celebrate one person was truly phenomenal by them.
Yeah, and the fact that they gave all the wins to the Dark Order was just an icing on the cake.
Yeah, somebody put on Twitter, I forget who, I might have just seen it randomly scrolling. Whatever plans they had for the tag titles, scrap them and get them on Dark Order as soon as possible. It'd be the perfect way.
I mean, yeah, John Silver alone, that man cracks me up. Right. And with him being that BTE champion now on YouTube, that's even more funny. All right. So I mean, there obviously, I could make an entire podcast. I could make a trilogy. I could talk all day about how wonderful John Huber was to the wrestling community, and I'm so happy that so many people came out and said nothing but nice things. I didn't even know half the stuff that people said about him, and the fact that he was a light in everybody's life is just amazing. But we're here talking New Japan predictions, and I want to first of all, thank you, John Huber, for doing everything that you did for us as a wrestling star, as a person in people's lives, bringing all that light and hope and kindness into people's lives. And I mean, we can't thank you enough here at LMP. But I'm sure you feel the same, Ben.
Absolutely. It's like you always see social media guys on social media from pro wrestling tweeting about personal life stuff. Brodie never did that, so we didn't know a lot of this stuff, and now just seeing everything, it's overwhelming. But he was a light in the wrestling community, and in one of the darkest community, for the lack of a better term, one of the darkest communities there is. To have a light like that was amazing, and it's just sad that he's gone.
No words, man. No words. But let's switch gears and tune into New Japan Pro Wrestling predictions for Wrestle Kingdom 15.
I'm both excited and nervous for this card. For both. I'm like, this can either go one way and make me very happy, or go the other way and make me very upset, and there is probably no in between.
Well, I guess I could consider myself lucky then, because as you know, I only tap into New Japan here and there. I've watched Wrestle Kingdom. I watched the G1 back in October. Loved that. I watched almost every night. I skipped a few because I fell behind in some. but I caught up, and it was really enjoyed it. And then I know that Kota Ibushi and Jay White, I know that loss happened there to involve Jay White at Wrestle Kingdom. So I've been kind of keeping up a little bit, but that's why I rely on you for, my man, to catch me up on everything. But the lucky part of me is no matter what happens at this Wrestle Kingdom, I'm just tuned in, I'm plugged in, and I can't wait to see what happens because I always enjoy a Wrestle Kingdom event.
I feel like I will too, especially because of how many different names there are on the card this year. You're not going to see the same, oh, Sonata and Evil against IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. Oh, GOD's in there somewhere. Oh, you got Tanahashi against somebody for a big title. There's a lot of different and new names on this card in singles action, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, I watched it last year too. Oh my God, last year! Look at that. We can say it now. 2020. Goodbye. Kiss my ass, 2020. Yeah, I mean, 2021 here. Last year in January when I watched Wrestle Kingdom 14, I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So we'll start off with we'll kind of go from the bottom up, and these aren't necessarily less important matches, just going by the titles and single matches. So we'll just start off Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Great-O-Khan. I know Will Ospreay and Great-O-Khan have been having that storyline there. So who do you got and why with the singles match for Hiroshi Tanahashi and Great-O-Khan?
I'm going Great-O-Khan simply because of the fact that we've seen Tanahashi in every big match. He's held almost every title with, I believe, the exceptions being the never open weight title and the U.S. title. And he's kind of now in the phase of his career where he's going to help start making new stars. He was Jay White's first match back from Excursion at Wrestle Kingdom 13, I believe it was. It was 12 or 13. He was the guy who kind of put over Ibushi, even though he won the G1 that year. And then he put over Ibushi in block action the next year, I believe. And now it's time for him to make another star in Great-O-Khan. Maybe he's not going to be, winning a championship at the very next show at New Beginnings like Jay White did with the U.S. title and beating Kenny Omega, but he's going to be a big player for the New Japan scene. And I'm very excited and very nervous because whenever you see a guy come back from Excursion, you want to see what they can do. He's talented. I'll give O'Khan that, but big stage against a big name, all the eyes are on you. What can you do?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean now Great-O-Khan, I'm going to need some education with all this because I saw Great-O-Khan appear. I believe it was the G1 where he came in with help with Will Ospreay.
It was the final night of A-Block action with Ospreay versus Okada.
Yes, yeah. Which was I can't wait for Will Ospreay versus Okada again. But we're gonna get there next. But with Great-O-Khan, now is this his first appearance in New Japan, or did he have a different character back then?
So they have the whole Young Lion system. He was one of those. I believe it was. I always butcher his first name. I want to say it was like Tomoaki Oka.
Okay.
So he did the whole Young Lion system. It's the same thing that like Shota Unomo, Red Narita, guys like that. You see the basic black trunks, black boots, and that's it. He was one of those kids. He eventually graduated from the New Japan Dojo, went on Excursion to Rev Pro, and then came back. So now he's officially a full-fledged superstar, but now he's got to establish himself in front of a Japan fan base. Okada, Yoshihashi, Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura, they all did the same thing. So it's a common tradition, and now he's back to prove himself on arguably the biggest Japanese stage in pro wrestling.
All right. Well, I'm thinking with Great-O-Khan then. I think I'm in agreement that he's going to win this match. It is the big stage after all. It's New Japan's WrestleMania essentially, and I mean Great-O-Khan. I mean this isn't his character. I imagine forever. He'll probably be this type of what the mask kind of thing, the question mark over his face kind of thing for a while. But I think he'll probably establish a new star in the next few years. But we have to get him there. So, I mean, I don't know how it's going to go, but that's just a little bit of a prediction there because I know nothing about New Japan.
Right. I'm just a little fearful also because of the Jay White effect. Jay White is the most recent guy to come back from Excursion, and he's just lit it up. He won the top 3 titles in what feels like no time flat. He's one of the very few Triple Crown champions in New Japan Pro Wrestling history. I think he's one of 3. And the kid's like not even 30 years old yet, I believe. And now O-Khan's coming in like, okay, can you do the same thing Jay White did? But remember, Jay White's first match against Tanahashi wasn't the best. It was good, but it wasn't great. But Jay White just kept working and improving. And if O-Khan can do the exact same thing, I'm not looking for a Dave Meltzer 5-star classic here. Give me something good, like a good appetizer for the New Japan show, for the Wrestle Kingdom show, and then we'll go from there.
For sure. I mean, we'll definitely get into talking about more of Jay White once we get up to that match, but I'm in agreement. I mean, I've really Jay White is that nasty, annoying heel, and I mean the Switchblade is. I think he's fantastic. I think he's good in the ring. I think he's nothing but improved over the last year and a half, and I mean the wrestling world is his oyster, and essentially if he keeps going the way he's going.
The fact that we're calling Jay White more improved and he's already one of the top 5 wrestlers in the world is insane.
Yeah.
Thing to think about.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're both in agreement for Great O-Khan?
Yes, that is true.
All right, so let's move into Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. Who do you got and why?
This one I've been going back and forth on for the past couple weeks because Ospreay needs the win more, but it's New Japan. New Japan loves Okada. And I'm still torn on it. My brain says pick Will Ospreay. He's the new heel. They're establishing a new stable in the Empire. It just makes more sense to me for Ospreay to win. So I'm going to go Ospreay, but I'm very, very cautious on that one.
I want to say Will Ospreay because Will Ospreay is my favorite. And that would be nothing but sheer favoritism from me. And usually when I go for picks, I go through like what's the business decision, what's the best booking decision. That's what I try to do. Because if I pick my favorites, I would never get them right. But with this, I don't know. Will Ospreay and Great O-Khan as a duo completely put Hiroshi and Okada in their place? I'm not sure. And again, as you said, Wrestle Kingdom, it's New Japan. They love Okada. So, I mean, will Great O-Khan get the victory over Tanahashi and then Okada get the victory over Will Ospreay? And does that make Will Ospreay look weak and Great O-Khan look strong? I'm not really sure where they go from here. But
it depends on the card placement, too. Like, if this is just before Naito's championship defense, you go Ospreay. If this is maybe third match from the main event, you go Okada. It all depends on card placement, and that is a bit annoying, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. You don't want a whole card of just heels dominating or a whole card of just faces dominating. You want to balance it. And having an Okada win in the third match from the main event makes sense, but having an Ospreay win in the semi-main makes sense as well. But also, Okada hasn't won a match in almost, I believe, 3 Wrestle Kingdoms now. He beat Ibushi last year on night 1, lost to Naito night 2. So he's batting under 500 in the past 2 Wrestle Kingdoms. He wants to get back to that 500 level. I would understand that, but it feels nice having Okada not be in a title scene or in a big picture. And I fear that they're going to go straight back to Okada being the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight title after this.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, where does Okada go from here? Where does Will Ospreay go from here? I mean, at some level or at some point, I'd like to see Will Ospreay capture a heavy solo title, like whether it be the Intercontinental title or if they split them up, or whether it be the Heavyweight Championship or the U.S. title. It doesn't matter. I think Will Ospreay needs to, because he had the British Heavyweight Championship before, right?
Yeah, he won that from, I think it was Zack Sabre Jr. He won that from at one of the Rev Pro shows.
Yeah.
In January or something like that.
And does he still have it?
I think he lost it, but I don't remember 100% sure if he did or didn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, he needs to get away from it, because I think he's been circling that title for a while, and I think at some point we need to put him into like more of a main eventer. But I mean, Okada is a very, very good start. So I mean, if I vote sheer favoritism, it's going to be Will Ospreay. But if I'm thinking business, I'll go with Okada. So I'm going to pick Okada.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of that way with me too. Like business-wise, Okada makes sense. Card placement comes into play with this, and it's just a whole thing that we don't know until the show actually starts.
Yeah. Who knows what New Japan has in store?
I've been trying to figure that out for 4 years now, and I still have no idea.
All right, so now we got the number one contender match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which will be defended on night 2, and this is between Hiromu Takahashi versus El Phantasmo, and I'm super excited for this match. Who do you got?
It makes more sense for Hiromu because Phantasmo and Ishimura are in Bullet Club together, but I would love a Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match at Wrestle Kingdom. Could you imagine those two in the ring, half a Bullet Club on one side, half a Bullet Club on the other, and just let those two go to war for the title?
Yeah, I mean that sounds incredible. I mean, I think that would be amazing to have the Bullet Club just kind of split, but at the same time, see who's the best fighter, almost like not as like a face Bullet Club or a heel Bullet Club, but just like a typical club that sees who's the best fighter.
Right, like it's just like this guy has one ego, this guy has another ego.
Yeah,
go in there, figure out who's got the better ego, who comes out victorious. Okay, cool. We're all gonna go celebrate in the back now. Something like that would be really nice to see. But you look at Hiromu, he's the ace of the junior heavyweight division.
he certainly is.
He's the guy there. I question how much longer is he going to be a junior heavyweight, because he seems to want more and more. And this is where I feel like it would make sense for the U.S. title to be in play, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, that's not the case. But it would be nice to see Hiromu win here, go after Ishimori, get his title back, or lose, and then make the transition to the heavyweight scene. Yes, he's a smaller guy, and yes, he's got a history of injuries, but so do a lot of guys. Naito has injuries. Tanahashi's got injuries. Tanahashi, the whole reason he wears that sleeve is he has a torn bicep that he never got surgery on. So you have guys at the heavyweight level who have injury history, so Hiromu fits right in there. And I wonder, this is what makes me cautious on picking Hiromu, is just how much longer is he going to be a junior? Is he going to pull the Finn Balor route and be both a junior and heavyweight at the same time? Or is he going to just be like, okay, junior's done, heavyweight division, here we go? Just because I'm curious about him in the heavyweight division, I'm taking Phantasmo.
Well, just because I love the time bomb, I'm going to go with Hiromu, just because I love watching him go. And I love your idea with the Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. I love the idea for that. And if that does happen on night 2, I am all plugged in for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so now we have the IWGP United States Championship challenge rights for the certificate. Now, there's a lot of interesting things that could happen around this. And honestly, I'm surprised that New Japan hasn't taken the title off Jon Moxley. I get it, 2020 has been insane. It might have been unfair. There might not be any honor in that to take the title off because something that he can't control. But they've been taking the title off people when they can't make it because of storms or injuries and stuff like that. So it's very interesting that they've kept it on Jon Moxley all this time.
I think it's simply because of the fact the last time they did it, they put it right back on him. Because when they had that tsunami late 2019, when Archer went on his run, the next Wrestle Kingdom, Moxley got the title right back.
Yeah.
So it makes some sense that they don't want to do it twice to the same guy in almost a year. And with a pandemic going on and it not being safe to travel, it's understandable. So I'm giving them a pass just for that. But at some point, because Kenta's been going back and forth. He's been on New Japan US TV show. I think it's called, I'm blanking on the name now as soon as I say it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's been going back and forth. Why can't Moxley go from his home to Japan, either drop the title or retain it, and then go right back?
Well, the way that they've been talking about New Japan on AEW, because they've been spilling out AEW name or New Japan names like it's been nothing. Like that, they've mentioned Okada, they've mentioned a few others just on commentary, and I'm like, oh, every time in commentary kind of puts those seeds in there, it makes you think if something's going to happen, right? And I would love, even for some sort of situation where Kenta just gets fed up and he comes into AEW and is like, hey, you got our title. And Kenta takes it from Jon Moxley. I would love that. That
was a rumor for who attacked Moxley the one week. Maybe it was Kenta. And I wouldn't, there's the whole thing New Japan being on American TV and AEW would be great. I fear they would overdo it. So you have to do it here and there. And it's not going to be all the big names. It'd be like, oh, there's Desperado for 2 weeks, or oh, there's El Phantasmo. It can't be every single week. Here's Kazuchika Okada. That would be overdoing it.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to strike when the oven's hot and just let it be and let everybody else do what they need to do. But I mean, between Satoshi Kojima and Kenta, I mean, I think Kenta's going to continue to hold the rights to the certificate, but the fact that he's been carrying this now for a year, I mean, how long can one company, carry the rights to a certificate, to the rights, that number one contendership? How long can that go on for, right? So they're going to have to involve this United States Championship at some point. But I really think Kenta's going to hold on to it.
It's going to be Kenta because Kojima is one of the grandfathers of New Japan. So I essentially view this as his swan song for Wrestle Kingdom, his last ever big match on the show. But it's going to be nice to see. I don't expect too much from him, so I'm taking Kenta. This is probably going to be the first match on the show. I would have to take a wild stab at that. But it'll be a good, nice little trend to see how the show goes, because Kojima can still go for a man who's in his 50s.
Yeah, he can. And I mean, and don't forget, this was supposed to be Juice Robinson as well. So,
yeah, and he had some injury or another. I think it was facial area. I don't remember exactly what, though.
Yeah, it was an eye injury.
Okay, well, I guess I was right then.
Yeah, facial injury, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if Juice Robinson was taken out, I mean, I think if it was Kenta versus Juice Robinson with the way they've been pushing Juice, I think they might have given it to him. But in this case scenario, Satoshi took over, just, he was replaced. So I think they're just going to keep it on Kenta for now. But at some point, I really they're going to have to somehow involve Jon Moxley, either come to AEW, do something with Kent. I don't know. But I really, as a fan, we got to get that United States Championship back where it needs to be.
It has to be at some point, sooner rather than later.
All right, so we're both saying Kenta?
Yep, Kenta for a pretty easy win, unfortunately.
All right. All right, so we had the IWGP Tag Team Championship next, which is the Dangerous Tekkers, which is Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., which they've been doing an interesting job of holding those titles, versus the Gorillas of Destiny. Who do you got and why?
Because they finally broke their World Tag League curse, I'm going with GOD.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 straight trips to the finals. 0-3 before this year. Yes, there was some little interference, but who cares? I like Tama Tonga. One of the best follows on Twitter. Dude just has an amazing Twitter game. I just sit there, I'm like, this man just doesn't care. Let's go. But you look at it, it makes more sense because, yes, Sabre and Taichi have done a great job, but I just feel there's so much more those two could do, especially in the singles division. I hate seeing big names as tag teams. Yes, sometimes you need to put together a tag team for a show, but just to be champions and not have anything else for them in the singles division just feels like a waste.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., I'm happy with what they've done with those two, but I want to see Zack Sabre Jr. back in the solo division. I want him to get more titles. I would love to see him being a United States champion. I think Zack Sabre Jr. is absolutely amazing. I mean, he reminds me so much of Daniel Bryan in the most greatest of ways.
They're both so technical and so good. I'm still mad we've never seen that match in a WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, CZW, just any single promotion. Just book Bryan versus Sabre, please.
Yeah, because their technicality, their technical work in the ring is just incredible. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is a big brat. I love it. I love his attitude. It's hilarious. And if you had babyface Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, wherever he was at the time, versus Zack Sabre Jr. as a heel, I think that would be one hell of a feud.
No question about it. It would be one of the best feuds from a pure wrestling standpoint in a long time.
I mean, and Taichi just cracks me up coming out with him singing and stuff, and the commentaries always mentioned about his mic and everything. Just the guy's cracked me up ever since I first saw him in the G1 last year, or I guess not, like 2 years ago now. We're 21.
Everybody hates Taichi, and I'm just sitting there like, this guy's good.
Yeah.
Everyone get your stuff together.
Yeah, everybody hates him, and I think he's hilarious. I became a fan of him over that G1 in 2019, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's great. This guy's hilarious. I love him. But yeah, I'm going with Gorillas of Destiny as well.
It's going to be a very Bullet Club heavy card in night one then, because I have Phantasma, we both have Kenta, we both have GOD.
Well, I mean, Bullet Club's always been pretty heavy in winning in New Japan, have they not?
Pretty much since they got in there, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when your first stable is Prince Devitt, Carl Anderson, and two other guys I'm blanking on, Fale and somebody else, you're just gonna win a lot. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and then when you move in with AJ Styles, then you move in with Kenny Omega, and you get the Elite involved, and it's just the Bullet Club's been an
In
absolute.
comes Jay White, in comes Kenta, in comes
Yeah.
Evil, and it's like, ugh.
It's quite the division. It really is. It's quite the stable. Nothing but respect for the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have the main event of night one, which is the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, which is Tetsuya Naito versus Kota Ibushi, and whoever wins will face Jay White on night two. Who do you got and why?
I wish they did this in the other order. It would make night one so much easier. Do I want to see Jay White versus Kota Ibushi again? Because those two are great together? Or do I want to see the guy who's finally on top of the mountain after 7 years keep his title reign going? And I'm just like, if you'd given me Ibushi on night two, it's Ibushi, no question. You give me Ibushi on night one? Ugh. Now I'm sitting here like, who do I pick? Because you know Naito's one of my boys. I'm going to go Naito simply because of the fact that there's still more story there to tell, I feel.
Well, I'm going Kota Ibushi because, spoiler alert, I am picking Kota Ibushi for the whole bloody thing. I want that man to get both championships. I so badly do. I need it to happen. If it doesn't happen, oh well. I'll still enjoy it because Naito and Ibushi always rock the house. But
well, they do as long as they don't hurt each other. Because you just watch those matches and you're like, my God, that neck has to be broken. They just pop right back up and you're like, oh, never mind, I'm stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Like they tear the house down when they wrestle. But I'm going with Kota Ibushi.
I just feel that there's more to Ibushi's story if he loses because he still has that team with Tanahashi. So imagine they both lose at Wrestle Kingdom. They eventually get some momentum together as a team. They like a Dominion or some other show. They challenge for the tag team titles, lose, and then Ibushi just snaps and turns heel, and that's when we see Ibushi win the title.
It could very well happen. I mean, that's one of the best catalysts in wrestling. When someone just snaps and then gets everything that they want. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it very well could happen. I mean, I love when Kota Ibushi just snaps too, like when he's getting beat up and then he just sits up and he's like, hit me, come at me.
You always hear commentary say he's going to that dark place.
Yeah,
just go to that place for an entire match. Have that be his one-on-one with Tanahashi after he turns heel. Just have him in that dark place the entire time.
Yeah, man, it could be. So let's dive into night two and let's work our way down this time instead of working our way up. So IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, and we'll work our way down from there. But at some point, I really want to have those titles separate. I really want to have feuds back in with the Intercontinental Championship. I don't want them carrying around both titles, or I want whoever wins this to defend them individually.
I'd like that as well, simply because I feel like, or even you can have them say, I would rather be heavyweight champion than IC champion. And like, it doesn't necessarily devalue the Intercontinental title because you're like making them pick which one do you want more.
Yeah.
People 9 times out of 10, or even 10 times out of 10, if you're world champion and Intercontinental champion and you have to pick, you're picking the world title. World champion gets paid, quote unquote, the big bucks. So you'd rather make them more money.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could have a nice little tournament for it, like maybe an 8-man, 10, 12-man tournament, something like that. And imagine a final four of Taichi, ZSJ, Sonata, and Evil.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
How the hell do you set up that bracket, though? Like, how do you get to that point? Because you got to throw Ishii in there as well. And I wouldn't mind Ishii winning that title and finally having that one big singles championship.
Yeah, that'd be good too. I mean, so do you think Jay White's going to win both championships?
In my fantasy booking world, no. Naito's walking out with Wolf. And the only reason I kind of say that is because I kind of alluded to it. Night 1 could be a very heavy Bullet Club night. Night 2, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's have a certain Bullet Club member win. Not going to say who, but have them win, and then we can just have an enjoy night where Bullet Club loses the rest of the night.
Yeah, I mean that could happen too. All right, so I'm going Kota Ibushi for the whole thing.
So neither of us like Jay White, and we just said how great he is. Makes sense. Makes total sense.
No, I'm picking a long game here. I have a thing that I have a thing with Kota Ibushi, and it just all wraps up nice in my head. So we'll see where it goes. But
I understand. There was also like the weird point of the changing of the briefcase, like why do that? And I kind of get it, like sitting back and thinking about it, because Ibushi won the G1, but then he lost the challenger rights to Jay White. So now, and yes, it's a weird year. There's also plants the little seeds of, oh, there's no way the G1 guy who wins the G1 is going to lose the contract. Well, now you kind of have to sit there and think, oh, wait, it could actually happen.
Yeah, with Kota Ibushi winning the G1, I think it was twice in a row, didn't he?
Yep, 2 back-to-back, first back-to-back since I'm blanking completely. Fantastic.
Yeah, my first 2 G1s. Okay, so I have my first J or the G1, my first J1. Look at the Jay White. When Jay White wins, it'll be the J1. But my first G1 ever, Kota Ibushi won, and then my second G1, Kota Ibushi won. So I'm just on the train of Kota Ibushi, and I don't want those to go to waste. He still hasn't captured that gold, so I want this all to pan out for him.
Yeah, and I know Gato's the master of long-term booking, but we'll see. We'll see if he wants to go a little more short-term on this one.
All right, well, let's move into the Never Openweight Championship between Shingo Takagi and Jeff Cobb. Who do you got? Why?
This one's going to be brutal.
Yeah, for sure.
Ugly. This is going to be bruises, bloody, whatever acronym you want to use in there. But it makes more sense if Jeff Cobb wins, because newest member of the Empire, him and Oka did World Tag League together. It would make sense to me, and it gives you another star you can develop in Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Cobb's amazing. I liked when he came over to AEW there, that brief little bit when Chris Jericho brought him in. I really enjoyed that. And it makes sense in the business aspect, like in the booking aspect, to have Jeff Cobb win. Favoritism, I'm totally picking Shingo Takagi. I've become a big fan of his too. I like how he goes. I like his entrance. I like how he goes in the ring. So, I mean, I would like it if he walked away with the Never Openweight Championship, but booking-wise, it's looking like it should be Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, he's another one that would make sense, where it's like, oh, we need another title scene. He would thrive if they had the U.S. title and they had the heavyweight and intercontinental separated. He would be definitely deep into one of those scenes.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you're saying Jeff Cobb, and just to change things up for favoritism, I'm going to pick Shingo Takagi.
Trust me, I'm going to be having favoritism a little later in this card. You know it.
Yeah, you are. That's the last match that we're going to talk about as well.
Perfect.
So moving on to the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, it's Suzuki Gun versus 1 or 8. Who do you got and why?
Because I haven't seen enough of Wato yet, I'm going to stay conservative and take Suzuki Gun. But also, I sit here and still wonder, why is Desperado stuck teaming with Kanemaru when he should be the singles star? He made the Best of the Super Juniors finals against Hiromu, and they put on a clinic. Like, just let the guy run. Let him fly. He is amazing in the ring. I've been saying it for years. Let Desperado be Despy. He's so good. Yeah,
I mean, you're completely right. I mean, I've seen nothing but good things from El Desperado when I've seen him go in New Japan, and I want to see more of that. And he would be great, just taking away from the junior heavyweight tag team scene and just going into the solo division. Again, he could go for the Intercontinental Championship. He could go for the United States. He could go and become really deep into those feuds.
Exactly, and I look at it too. You already have his replacement there. You have Doki. And with the veteran in Kanemaru, who's been wrestling for, I believe, now 17 years, something like that, you could have the teacher, mentor little story there as he teaches Doki how to be an actual junior heavyweight in the New Japan sense of the term.
Between these two tag teams, though, I think I am going to go with Suzuki Gun just because 1 or 8 just seems too new to me right now.
Yeah, and I feel like this is just a way to get Taguchi on the card.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love me some Taguchi, but when you're having him in a junior heavyweight tag team title match, I'm like, it's Taguchi.
Now, going back to what we were talking about before, involving the junior heavyweight championship between Hiromu Takahashi or El Phantasmo for that number 1 contender. Now, I picked Hiromu, and you picked El Phantasmo. So do you think it's going to be Taiji Ishimori, or do you think it's going to be El Phantasmo?
I think it makes more sense for it to be Phantasmo, because right now, the junior heavyweight division, they lost Ospreay. They're working on making the big names. We don't know how long Hiromu's going to be there. So right now, your big names are Hiromu, who could be transitioning to heavyweight sooner rather than later, and Ishimori. You need some more names now. You have Desperado, who's slowly climbing up the ranks. I don't know if he's going to be junior heavyweight champion within this calendar year. Would I love to see it? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? And talk to me in about 7 months. And you need another one. Like you have 2, great, but why have just 2 guys and have them trade the title back and forth when you could have 3, 4, 5? I completely forgot they lost Kushida last year too. But you could have a top 3 of Ishimori, Phantasmo, and Desperado. And then you could work in Taguchi a little bit. You could work in Kanemaru. You can work in everybody else. But those are the 3 that you just have a heavy focus on.
Yeah, I mean, between those 3 guys, I mean, I picked Hiromu going into it, and I want Hiromu to go against Ishimori. I mean, his involvement in the Bullet Club, and as we say, night 1 could be all Bullet Club, night 2 could be, Bullet Club loses. But Ishimori, doesn't matter, whether it's Phantasmo, whether it's Takahashi, that's going to be one hell of a match. Honestly, in a dream world, I'd like them both to get some sort of draw, count out or something in night 1, and then have a triple threat on night 2. And I wouldn't even care who wins that. I would just love to watch a triple threat between these 2 at Wrestle Kingdom.
My brain immediately, when you said draw, I'm like, second match at Wrestle Kingdom 15, night 1, 60-minute time limit draw, triple threat the next day. You have 2 guys that wrestled 60 minutes and a guy who hasn't wrestled in about a month.
Well, I mean,
perfect.
That's why it takes 2 people to knock him down.
True.
All right, so we have the final match, which is your boy Sonata versus Evil. Who do you got, man? I think I know, though.
You do, and I'm going to defend it first.
All right.
They've been building this up. This is the second time these 2 have touched since they broke up. And you look at it, Evil's had the better of the 2 because he's now a former IWGP heavyweight champion. Still kind of surprised they did that. It's worked. Evil's looked great since he had the title reign.
Yep.
But they're slowly building Sonata up. He had to dig himself out of an 0-3 hole in the G1 just to reach the finals. He did that. He got to the finals and put on 35, almost 40-minute classic with Kota Ibushi,
which was fantastic.
He's been on this streak, but they sort of have the thing where he can't win the big matches. He's lost to Okada more times than I can count. He's never had a good G1 until this year. He gets to the finals. He has all this momentum. He can't finish. I think this is the show where he puts it together. Big match against a big name, a former champion, and he gets the job done. And this is where I kind of think it would make sense for them to break apart the Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship. So now you have Sonata, who won one of his first big matches, and now he's on that quest to get the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a great booking choice. I mean, I was already picking Sonata. I didn't think Evil was going to beat him this time. Or not this time, but at Wrestle Kingdom. But with everything with the G1 again, like climbing himself out of that 03 and being in the finals, and we've talked about Sonata before. We've talked about how we want him to succeed, and again, as long as everything goes right, I really do believe that he is the future world champion in New Japan.
It just comes down to the booking and how much sooner or later. I still feel like it's happening because they still have NXT UK. How soon NXT Japan happens. And if Sonata's not champion by then, does he make the jump?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really want Sonata to go near WWE, to be honest.
If he's near WWE with Triple H, I trust it. I trust it 100%. If he's near WWE with Vince, no. Get him away. Keep him in Japan. Put him in All Japan for all I care. I will get a subscription to that.
Well, usually everybody who goes to NXT eventually comes up to WWE, which makes it very hard for me to invest, because every time I invest in megastars in NXT, they end up not doing incredibly well. So
if Sonata goes to NXT, become best friends with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, and never leave. Just stay in NXT for your entire career.
Yeah. You just stay there. Don't move.
Also, I was sitting here like, he's gonna pick Evil. He's picking Evil. You say Sonata, I'm like, what do I do now?
Well, yeah, I don't see Evil winning. I mean, it was shocking to me actually when Evil won both titles, but I'm glad he did. But Tetsuya Naito getting them back though, of course. But I mean, as he looked great with both titles, and he brought the Bullet Club to another level with that, I think. But I think this is Sonata's time. I really do.
I hope so. He's been one of my favorites ever since I found him, and I'm like, just give the man a chance. He's one of them. Chris Ridgway is another guy who's now getting these opportunities in other companies. But Sonata now at the main event scene in New Japan, he's like right there. He can taste it. Let the man eat. Let him show you that he's the best pro wrestler in the world today, at least in my opinion.
He's definitely one of the best. Absolutely, definitely one of the best. Now, that is Wrestle Kingdom 15. Now, we're out of time, but there's one thing that I had to run by you. And you might have heard it on my previous podcast. You might have not, but I ran it by James. And this is all New Japan stuff. And I don't even know if AEW New Japan is going to work out with something. Like I said, they've been kind of mentioning stuff on commentary, and Jon Moxley does have the title, and whatever happens there happens. But with Kenny Omega's new persona, and he's become this mega asshole. Let's face it.
Just way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, let's call it as it is. I mean, I think it's great. I said a while back that Kenny Omega was going to be the one that took it off Moxley. I knew there was no other guy to do the job, and he has, and they've involved Impact, which has been insanely awesome. And there's a couple of pay-per-views coming up with Impact as well, and the whole thing has just been great. The promotions of Tony Khan and saying, this I could take him off these shows, but I'm not going to. Anyway, I feel on some level that if New Japan and AEW are able to come together and unlock that door, I feel that Kota Ibushi is the one that's going to bring Kenny Omega back from being a heel. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know how many months it's going to take, but I feel that's the most elegant ending to that. It doesn't matter if Kota Ibushi has the title or not. If you show the right promos, if you show the right video packages, and a lot of the hardcore fans would know about the Golden Lovers, and they've been separated for so long. Kenny Omega went to America. He became, he got dark. All this stuff happened to him, and then Kota Ibushi comes and saves him. I think that's the most elegant thing. I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. I just think that's fantasy booking gone wild. But what do you think about that?
I would like that. It all depends on what happens this Wrestle Kingdom, I think. Because if we don't see Ibushi walk out with the titles, I think Kenny Omega, heel Omega, is going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I hate heel Omega. I actually really like his stuff as a heel. And hey, if this gets me another opportunity to see Chris Bay on TV, I'm all for it. Love Chris Bay. But I look at it too. It could also work in the way, like, say Ibushi does turn heel at some point in the semi-near future, and then that door does get open. Imagine just the two heels standing there looking at each other. It's almost like a Rock Austin Rumble eye lock from across the ring. And they just come back together. They're the Golden Lovers.
The Golden
Not face, not heel, just a team that comes out, beats the ever-loving crap out of whoever they're against in the ring, and that's the story.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. It really could happen. But I don't know. I really don't know. This is, again, like I said, it's fantasy booking gone wild. But Kenny Omega's saying he's a collector now, and he wants all the titles. He wants the Impact Championship. Why not add the IWGP Championship back?
I sit there and think, all the titles. So AEW, WWE working relationship, when?
Well, except for WWE, because you got to
put them in there too. Put them together. Just imagine. One of the things I always wanted was a wrestling world where everyone just works together.
Right. But
that great in the long run? Probably. You're going to see matches that you might never see before. We were talking about it, Sabre versus Bryan.
Yeah.
But also you sit there and think about it. They could all thrive from this. Best of the Super Juniors could become a smorgasbord of the best cruiserweights, junior heavyweights walking the planet. You could see Cedric Alexander in Best of the Super Juniors against Takahashi, against Phantasmo, against Leo Rush, against Ricochet. Please use Ricochet right if this ever happens. I just sit there. This could be, if we see doors start to get broken, or if they find maybe not broken doors, maybe we see them find the key to the door, unlock it, and open it. Maybe we see that happen from one side. Maybe the other side will be like, okay, we should soften our stance a little too, and we just see the whole wrestling world not be at each other's throats saying, your show sucks. No, your show sucks. No, our ratings are better. Just come together, enjoy wrestling, and just enjoy the sport that we all love.
Well, that would be the ideal thing, but you got to understand that WWE has the WWE universe. They're by themselves. They're their own canon. Nothing happens. Like, once you're in WWE, you're a person again. If you leave the universe, you don't exist. They cut you out of footage until you come back or apologize. So, like, every other wrestling company in the world is like, oh yeah, I don't mind working with you. Oh yeah, this might happen, or we're open to this. No. WWE lives on an island. They're by themselves. Vinnie Mac and his island. So, like, that's
Who knows?
The island, like the island of relevancy or whatever Roman Reigns is going on about. Well, that's actually the island of WWE.
That's true.
There's a
Vince is going to be around anyway, because one thing leads to another. Triple H is in charge, and he seems to be a lot more open to that idea.
Yeah. But while Vince is around, I honestly, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything like this, but I just cannot see WWE work with anybody else, because WWE doesn't want to work with anybody else. So, and they've made that pretty clear through the last, 25 years I've been watching them.
Yeah, I mean, it's Vince being Vince, so there's no being rude. You just call a spade, and Vince is an idiot, for lack of a nicer term.
Well, I'm certainly not going to call him an idiot. I mean, he's given me lots of great stuff over the years, but as for booking for the fans, sometimes, yeah, it's a bit off.
No one wants Goldberg Reigns at Mania.
No, and you know what? It's probably going to happen.
Give me Roman Bryan, please.
We can only hope. All right, well, with that, we will wrap things up. Thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. What is your social media, Ben?
You can find me on Twitter at Churro Soldier, all one word, capital C, capital S. There's also All Things Combat. You can follow us on there. We're wanting to get back to writing stuff, hopefully soon. We'll see. But who knows? It's a whole disconnect with me and the guys there. They're over in the UK. I'm over here in the US. So I'm like, we'll figure it out when we figure it out.
Perfect, man. Thank you for that. And you can find all of our socials as well at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, which you're probably on right now, and Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, Lotus M Productions on Instagram if you want all the music side of things. We've recently had Dana Jean Phoenix, Michael Oakley, Napalm Fugitive, and we have a few other synthwave artists coming on this month and the next month, such as Elevate the Sky, Thought Beings, and Griff, and a few others. So with that, we will wrap things out. This has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off. Happy New Year to everybody.